Are we watching the beginning not just of the unraveling or possible unraveling of the European single currency, but of at least some portion of democracy itself in Europe?
Yeah, I think, well, what's happening in Europe is you have the European political and economic elites, and they have misdiagnosed the crisis. They have used the crisis as a sort of opportunity to further entrench the neoliberal free market architecture underlying the European project. And as there is a growing opposition, growing resistance in Europe, they are very anxious to push changes without giving European citizens a chance to have a say over their future. And of course, there have been many instances in the past when European citizens of different countries were asked in referenda what they thought about the various changes and treaties that have made up the European project over the decades, and they have often said no. So I think the European economic and political elites are committed to the use of Europe as a way of eroding the European social model that had some degree of welfare states, and they want to push it even against the growing opposition of European citizens who see themselves suffering from austerity policies that are primarily designed to protect those who caused the crisis in the first place. The best hope we have is that resistance escalates so that there is a movement towards a reorientation of Europe in a more progressive direction, a European project that prioritizes the needs of ordinary workers and citizens rather than the needs and interests of the financial sector. We oftentimes talk nowadays about the sovereign debt crisis, and we forget that many of the countries that are in debt, that are facing trouble right now, did not have deficits and debts before the current global capitalist crisis. And of course, financial markets are trying to do their best to sort of speculate and benefit from this situation. And there is a kind of irony in seeing all those financial actors who were bailed out by governments now turning around and pointing the finger at governments and telling them that governments have been irresponsible and that therefore they have to cut basic social services for their citizens. So I think, the situation is very volatile and very precarious. And of course, the financial sector has a great responsibility, as have the European leaders who are basically obsessed with austerity policies that do not deal with the underlying issues.